chatting with you today about a subject that is a little bit different than what we've been used to of late, and that is the subject of business consulting, which is one facet of what I do for a living. Some people would say that I'm a jack of all trades. I say that I'm a jack of one trade, and that it is just a little bit of a bigger world than what some people are used to. So personal consulting and coaching goes really hand in hand with business consulting and coaching. I think it's a little bit difficult to actually extricate one from the other, because to do one, you have to be good at the other. And if you're not good at business, you shouldn't be running a coaching business where you're offering personal consulting. And if you're not good at personal consulting, you shouldn't be doing business consulting of any kind. So I feel that, if you're doing coaching, personal one-on-one, and you're running your own business, you might be shooting yourself in the foot by not offering business consulting for other people who are also running businesses. So that's a little bit about what I do. That's a little bit about my sort of philosophy on the situation and on the profession. Now, we're going to talk today about a really specific topic, and I'm going to tell you right now, just full disclosure, I am pissed off today. I am pissed. I'm royally angry. So I felt that, I needed to turn this anger into something constructive where I could help those of you who are going through similar situations. And why am I angry, you might ask? Well, because I've recently dealt with a client who refuses to pay for my coaching services. Now, I'm going to tell you up front how I do things, how we do things at Trinity SS Wellness. Here at Trinity, we do not invoice clients. We take payment up front at time of service. And in fact, we often take payment prior to actually offering the service at all. And that way the person can kind of bank their allotted amount of time with us, whether it be that they're booking a consultant like myself for an entire month and they're signing a retainer agreement. And that retainer agreement stipulates that they'll have 2 to 3 sessions with me or whatever consultant they're booking with per month, plus texting support and phone call support, or whether it's just an a la carte session and they pay for that session, up front, and then they get that hour of time with me. Either way, I think it's important to have the client pay either early or at time of service. Excuse me, I'm having a little bit of an allergy attack again today. So I think it's just an incredibly important thing to do. If you're running any kind of a business, whether you're building a website for somebody, whether you're doing design work in somebody's home. When I work with my personal designer, my home designer, I actually budget an allotted amount of time with her, and we put it in writing, we agree on a contract, and that's what I do with my clients. So let me open up my client contract here for you guys so that you can learn a little bit about what you might want to write into your contract. And before I get started, I'm going to tell you I'm not a lawyer. I don't have a legal education of any kind. My education is in psychology and early childhood education, so not a lawyer up front. I'm just giving you advice about business consulting and also letting you know what I tend to do and what my contract stipulates. And in fact, this is part of the reason that I'm a little bit angry and upset today, because I do have a really tight contract, and I have a really tight business game. I have a really tight agreement with my clients, and it's very specific. The clients know what's expected of them, and I know what they expect of me. Okay, so the client and practitioner contract is very tight. Now, it's not restrictive, but it's very specific and it's very tight. So, what do I cover in my contract? I cover liability. So obviously you have to have the person be aware that if they're coming to you, they're waiving liability claims against you. If they don't like something you say to them, if they misuse a piece of your advice, if they, break something of yours and cut their hand, I don't know, what have you. You've got to be able to cover your own collective behind on that. So I think it's really important to factor in liability. So I have the liability waiver. I have stipulations regarding what constitutes somebody who works with Trinity SS Wellness and what constitutes being one of our contractors and what kinds of responsibility the client has when they're working with a contractor under the auspices of Trinity SS Wellness. I have my health and wellness section under the liability waiver section. I ask for people to disclose medical information, not because I'm going to sell it to a third party or something, just because if somebody, for instance, comes into my office, and collapses and goes into diabetic shock, I need to know that they're a diabetic so that I can attend to the situation and make sure that this person doesn't suffer any ill effects of their illness. If, for instance, I'm doing Reiki on somebody and they've got a broken leg, I need to know that so that I don't exacerbate the situation, so I don't touch them on their injury and have them say, well, you hurt me. Well, okay, you've got to let me know where you don't want to be touched. You've got to let me know where you're injured, what your medical conditions are. You have to let me know if you're on any kind of a serious medication where you could end up having some sort of an episode. Maybe it makes you lightheaded. Maybe you are hypoglycemic. I don't know. So you have to disclose this information to me. If you are recovering from surgery or an illness, you have to let me know. I also have a really tight stipulation regarding when people should think about rescheduling their appointments if they become ill. Because I have an autoimmune disease myself, not an acquired one, but a genetic one. Not that I have judgment against anybody who has an acquired autoimmune disease, but I happen to have a genetic autoimmune disease, and if you come into my space, most people wouldn't even think about having a friend over that was sick or seeing somebody that was sick. I have to think about these things because that will end up, having to have me take time off work. I will very likely become ill. I may have to go to the hospital. Plus, it's just, I think, a respectful thing to do to kind of not go to an appointment when you're sick with a fever or you're vomiting or what have you, So I do stipulate that in my contract. And we're getting to the topic at hand here. So all of these things kind of go together. And what I ask is that, if you're genuinely ill, you can absolutely cancel a day of. I get it. But I give you 3 allotted illness days throughout the year. You can have an emergency or an illness up to 3 times in the year. Now, if you have an autoimmune condition like I do, like I said, I need you to disclose that to me up front so that I don't think you're faking illnesses when you just don't want to come in for coaching and don't want to be accountable to somebody else with what's going on in your life. So if you, like me, have an immune disease that's going to cause you, extreme pain or illness or migraines or light sensitivity, you need to let me know that that's why you're not coming in, and that's why I have that section in my contract. So there are definite reasons that are totally legitimate as to why a client might not come in, okay? I do say that, for instance, if you just couldn't find a babysitter that day, the babysitter called in sick, if you're canceling within 24 hours of your scheduled appointment time, I will be charging you in full for that time slot, because that is picking my pocket, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful or rude way, but it is nevertheless, it is picking my pocket, it is picking my business's pocket, time-wise, money-wise, energy-wise. I often have a list of clients who want to come in if I have a cancellation. Now, if somebody calls me an hour before their appointment, oh, my babysitter fell ill and I can't get somebody to watch the kids, and I have other clients who wanted to take that time slot, or I had something else I wanted to do, that I would have been able to do had that person simply been responsible and called me beforehand, then yes, that's going to be a problem, and I do need that client to pay me in full for that time. Now, here's where you might run into a problem, okay? That client may, because they're not in front of you, they may say, oh, I'll give you a call later with my credit card. It's best to get them while you're talking to them initially. To say, okay, so we're on the phone right now. I'm going to need to grab that information. Now, I run into excuses now and then with clients who have canceled and have to pay me for the session or what have you. Clients who, for some reason, the charge didn't go through after their session and they want to kind of drag their feet and, oh, I'll call you later. Oh, the check's in the mail. Well, you know what? I gave you an hour of my time, whether you weren't able to come in or whether you came in and for some reason the charge didn't go through when I tried to charge your card. I gave you that time, or I gave you, God forbid, a month of my time. I'm in the process of finishing up the month with you. If your charge didn't go through from before, you need to understand, my friend, that I have just given you a month of my time, or even an hour or a day of my time, and I haven't been paid for it. So that's actually what we like to colloquially refer to as stealing. Okay? How would somebody react if you walked into the Target or the convenience store or the Walmart? Hopefully you're not walking into Walmarts. Not a really good company, just human rights atrocities wise, but I digress. So what would happen if you walked into a Target and said, oh, I know that my credit card didn't go through just now, but I'm going to take this candy bar anyway, and you know what, I'll just send you a check. It's in the mail. We're good. I think the police would immediately be called on you, okay? So please understand that it's the exact same situation when you're working in the service industry. If you patronize somebody's business and you do not pay for services, that is stealing. Plain and simple, black and white. There is no middle ground. Now, if you're having a financial problem, I understand that. But if you can't afford to pay for my services, please don't schedule an appointment with me. I definitely have had clients come in and try to barter with me for time or for just payment in general. And I've had to say, look, we're not in a barter industry. We are in, whether we like it or not, we are in a capitalist society. I have to pay my bills. I have to pay for my home every month. I don't want to lose my home. It wouldn't be fair of you to ask me to put my car payment or what have you on hold because you just simply didn't want to pay up or were having your own financial troubles. I mean, if you have to pay me $10 a week because you fell on hard times, so be it. You pay me that $10 a week, okay? I'm definitely not without a conscience, and I'm not without empathy. And I can understand that things happen. The hard times befall people. But that is part of why I like to ask for payment upfront or at the time of service. Because there are a million excuses and a million reasons as to why you can't pay me right now, or you've got the check's in the mail, or, oh, well, I guess the post office lost it, or what have you. I'm not interested in that. I'm a pretty understanding person, but I am not interested in that. And I want to suggest that you follow through. Don't be interested in that. Don't listen to those sorts of excuses, because plain and simple, this person is taking money from your pocket. Now, regarding my business's financial information and obligation section of our contract, we have a very strict no refund policy. Our refund policy is as follows. Trinity SS Wellness and all contractors and practitioners operating under its auspices do not offer refunds of any kind. We are a service-based business and do not offer refunds no matter what the circumstances. Our payments section stipulates that we do not accept checks, and I would urge you to follow suit. We accept checks under no circumstances whatsoever. It's not a thing. We don't do it. All payments must be taken at the time of service or before, as I mentioned, depending on what you and your contractor or practitioner have worked out. One of the two, at or before, not after. We do offer accessible payment options. We offer cash, credit, debit, PayPal. Really simple, okay? Now, refusal to pay. Like I said, that is a big pet peeve for me. It shows a level of disrespect that just transcends almost anything. You know, I recently had a client, and if they're listening, I do apologize, but wow, this is a doozy. So hopefully if for some reason they happen to be listening, you know, this is not about you in particular, but I have had this happen once or twice before, and hell, it's a doozy. So maybe this will spur you on to pay if you're listening, and I kind of hope you're not. So my refusal to pay section in my contract stipulates that under the services rendered section, if a client refuses to pay for services rendered, follow-up notices will be sent. Late fees of $5 a day, which I actually think is quite reasonable, will be implemented. Refusal to pay for those services takes time, money, and energy from our pockets. We're a small business, and we appreciate your understanding in this matter. We will be unable to continue to work with clients who refuse to pay. Section 2, under the refusal to pay section, stipulates that refusal to prepay for services may result in Trinity SS Wellness being unable to take that client in the future. Okay, so pretty simple, right? So I would urge you to include similar stipulations and similar sections in your client contract. If you are just building your business and you haven't set up your sort of payment information and payment contract and policies yet, I would urge you to do that right now, really right now. If you have, you know, if you're an intelligent person, you should be able to write up a pretty sensible contract. I wrote mine myself. I happen to have some legal knowledge, though I don't have any legal education, because my dad was, who passed away actually last September. And let me tell you something, the client that I recently took that didn't pay up, it was my parents' anniversary, the first anniversary since my dad passed away. I actually told the client, you know, I'm not sure if I'm going to feel mentally up to taking you on the day of your scheduled appointment. And this person let me know that they were also having a personal crisis and that they would really like to come see me, and they understood if I couldn't take them. And I was like, okay, you know, you're having this crisis. I get it. All right, I'll take you. Maybe I'm not feeling up to snuff today. It's a tough day for me. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to overpromise, but okay, I'll take you on that day. So we'll do it. I'll make it happen. I'll make an exception, right? Well, making exceptions, as we know, is not always a good idea, because now I'm feeling a little bit angry that they disrespected my grieving time on that day, and that they also disrespected me and my business by not paying me. Kind of shitty. And I realize that when someone's in crisis, they can be self-focused, but this seems to transcend boundaries, really. It cross lines a little bit. So, you know, it adds an extra layer of yuck to the situation. So I just want to share my experiences with you guys in the hopes that maybe it can kind of like teach some of you who are looking to avoid similar situations to do so. Maybe don't make exceptions if you don't feel comfortable. Usually if I don't feel comfortable doing something, I won't do it. And I was like on that border the other day. I was on that border, like, okay, I feel comfortable, but just barely. But, you know, after not being paid, I am livid. And you don't want to waste your time and energy being livid and having to contact your client a bazillion times to get a payment that might never be forthcoming because now they feel, badly about it. And now I certainly would never berate my clients or say anything nasty or mean to them. But what I did say was, I understand that you're undergoing this personal crisis. I understand that you're going to be unavailable for an amount of time, and I totally respect what you're going through and wish you the very best. And with that being said, I'm going to have to be a stickler about this, and I'm going to have to ask that you pay me up front, and I'm going to send you my policy again in writing right here. Here is my policy regarding payment. And here are what the accrued late fees are going to look like. Now, I understand that you're going to be going through a big personal upheaval. You may not be available for a while. I get that. And I want to let you know that the sooner you pay, it still may be a little bit better for you because late fees are going to accrue. Okay? So, anyway, so the reason I have this, a little bit of legal knowledge, again, no legal education, so please don't think that's what I'm saying. But the reason I have a little bit of legal knowledge is because my dad, who passed away again last year, was a really, really amazing arbitration advocate for the union he worked for. He actually just got a Lifetime Achievement Award, obviously posthumously, and he was amazing at what he did for a living. Really knew the union contract front, back, and side to side. He knew his business. And so whenever I had a contract issue come up, I would run it by my dad. He would, he actually helped me edit this contract. He made sure that, it was legally binding, that it was legally appropriate. So I do have a little bit of education because of all of the years that I've witnessed my dad doing part of what he did for a living. And it's certainly not a formal education by any kind, and I have no formal training, but at least I was able to write my own contract, be confident that it was legally binding, etc. So what I'm saying is, please find some way to educate yourself like I did, even though my education was totally by proxy, right? Find a way to educate yourself, and please, if you're able to, at least run your contract by a lawyer or, somebody who has knowledge of the law so that you're, comfortable that the contract is legally binding and that your policies are appropriate and legal. Okay? I don't think that I ask anything outlandish in my policies and my business policies by any stretch of the imagination, but it's always good to get that input. And I'm so glad that I was able to do that myself. So my client contract stipulates many other things. We talk about things such as personal touch. When you're coaching and offering psychotherapy to people, I'm sorry, but folks, you really do need to have something regarding physical touch boundaries in your client contract. It's very rare that I get a client of either sex or any gender who feels that it's okay to be inappropriate on any level with me, but once in a blue moon, it happens where somebody comes in and, feels that they need to get into my personal space, or will kind of, do the arm brush or the leg touch, which is, icky and inappropriate and yuck. Not okay. So it's always good to have those boundaries spelled out for people. And again, don't do it in a berating way. Just, use common sense, basically. Some of the other things that I talk about are obviously the sexual harassment policy, which every business needs to have nowadays. Every business needs to have a sexual harassment policy. Sexual harassment goes both ways. It goes between contractors, employees. It goes between, business and client and business. So, sexual harassment does happen. It does happen, and it happens to men and women. It happens to people of all genders and all sexualities and all sexes. And it's so important to cover yourself, your clients, your employees, your contractors. Folks, really, this is incredibly important. I have a retainer section. I'm just going to go over some basic information with you since I've got my contract in front of me. Appointment making, time allocation, etc., cancellations. Obviously, I think it's good to have a strict cancellation and no-show policy. And obviously, the late fee policy will apply to anybody who cancels with less than 24 hours notice, and anybody who doesn't show up for their appointment. So $5 a day. Maybe if you're doing bigger work, like a big project or something, where you're charging somebody hundreds or thousands of dollars, you might want to make it a little steeper, $50 a day, $100 a day, $150 a day, so that folks realize that you're not, pardon my French, but you're not fucking around. You are very serious about getting paid for the important work that you do, okay? So, these are the things that I cover. I cover a client review section. I say, please feel free to leave me an honest review. I think we've had one instance ever in our decade plus of being a business wherein we've had a client, well, not a client actually, somebody come and review us who is not in my books, is not in my records. I don't recognize the name. The details they were giving were totally off base. And either they reviewed the wrong business by accident or on purpose. And unfortunately, that was our only bad review ever. We've had 5-star reviews. And that particular review was it was a really bad review. And unfortunately, this person it was not a client of ours. Nobody can find her in any of our information. So it's important to cover, reviews. Ask people to openly and honestly leave reviews, but it's also important to let clients know, that you're going to be looking out and that you're going to be, having dialogues with people on social media. You're not just, many businesses will sit there and leave their reviews on Yelp or on Facebook or what have you. They don't respond to them. They don't rate them. They don't, say anything. They don't follow up with the people. I follow up with people who leave me reviews. I have conversations on social media with people, on our business page, on our Yelp page. I think it's really, really important. And, if you're not having a dialogue with the person, then why do you even care about the review in the first place? Obviously, you're not interested in what people think of your business. So, when it comes to reviews, just asking people to be honest. Certainly never ask them to leave, a 5-star review in exchange for something, obviously. I have a section stipulating the appropriate ways to contact a practitioner under the auspices of Trinity SS Wellness. I have a pretty good contract, I think, and pretty good policies in place. And I think that it just makes you feel better as a business owner yourself. And I apologize, folks, for the noise out there. I think maybe somebody's hired a loud lawn service or something. I live in kind of a populated area, so oftentimes, despite the great soundproofing in our building, we will have kind of noises come in when I'm on the air, and can't be helped. So I do apologize, though. So anyway, just having a good contract makes, and a good financial policy and payment policy makes you feel better, because even when these things happen, at least you can say, okay, you know what, client that didn't pay, I notified you on this date at this time in writing, and that's important. Notify the person in writing of what they owe. Send them an invoice. I sent this person a PayPal invoice. So send them an invoice so that it's logged somewhere in a system of some sort. Send them an email or another form of written communication that include your policies, even if you have previously sent them your financial policies. It's really important to kind of reiterate, follow up, resend. It's so important to do that because that way, A, it's fresh in the person's mind and they've been reminded. B, they can't say, well, you didn't give me your policy. C, they know that you mean business. They know that you're not, again, NFA, as I call it, not fucking around. They know that you're NFA. You are in the business of NFA, and you are not going to fool with people who are not going to pay you. And let me assure you, I've coached many people who are like, well, I'm just getting started, and shouldn't I offer a free session now and again? No. Let me answer that question very clearly. No, do not do that. Free services, unless they're included in a greater package, of course, free services do not bring new clients in. They certainly don't bring new paying clients in. And I'll tell you, they don't bring people in who value your services. If I'm going to start, for instance, a coaching program with somebody or a consulting program with somebody, I might say something like, okay, if you pay for a monthly retainer with me for this month, I'll be happy to offer you one free appointment next month. Or I'll be happy to cut down my price by the amount that one session with me would cost. Now that's okay. That's totally appropriate, but don't offer your services for free, particularly when you're just starting out, because it's more work for you. You're not going to get the clients that stay with you anyway, and people aren't going to value what you're giving them. And it really is true. I got some advice from not the nicest person, actually, not the kindest person, when I came into this industry. And I dismissed it, and I'll tell you what, even though this person ended up being a real bear to work with, their advice was right on point. And here's what they told me. I should not have dismissed it. I should have run with it right away. What they told me was, if you don't ascribe a high dollar value to your services, people won't ascribe it emotional value. Well, that is true. Folks, let me tell you, that is true. So that is why it is so important for a client to pay you on time. And let me just tell you, if you, for some reason, are contracting with other businesses and you're not paying them on time, let this be a lesson to you as well. You're telling that person that you don't value their services, and you're telling them that you don't value your own word, is what you're telling them. You're saying, not only do I not value your services and what you're doing for me and the time you've taken, I don't value my business, I don't value myself, and I certainly don't value my word. Now, I think that the best solutions sometimes come in the form of compromise in these situations, which of course are few and far between if you have policies similar to mine. I think the very best policy that you can kind of try for in these situations is a policy where you offer the person not a deal financially, but you offer them an emotional deal, a person-to-person deal. You say something like, okay, so I noticed that you still haven't paid me I have invoiced you a couple of times. I have inboxed you in your email 4 or 5 times here. What can we do to remedy the situation? What can we do to get you paid up and paid in full so that we can continue on your journey to improving your life together? Because that's what I want to do for you. Keep it positive. Keep the message positive, but offer them something. Say, if you're having some financial trouble, I totally understand that. You might actually relate it back to you so that they understand that you're not here sitting pretty on a mountain of money like the ducks and DuckTales. You're not swimming in piles of money. So you're not Scrooge McDuck, right? You're not sliding down piles of money. So basically relate it back to you. Say, gosh, you know what? I understand how it is to struggle financially. I sometimes and even if this isn't strictly true, you can say something like, gosh, I do once in a while have trouble paying off my medical debt and all of those student loans that I racked up getting this degree, hint, hint, basically. So I totally understand having a little bit of financial difficulty, and I'd like to offer you a deal. What if we worked out a payment plan? Would you be able to put $50 down right now, or $20, or $5 for Christ's sake, whatever works for them? Would I be able to get $50 down right now, and obviously start at the higher end and see, what you can work toward? But say something like, if I'd be able to get $50 from you right now as a down payment in good faith, I'd be more than happy to extend the deadline by a month, right? You give me $50 now, $10 a week for the next month, and we'll be squared away by the end of next month. So it's good to offer them a deal. It's good to make them feel valued and like you're doing something special for them. And you are, really, because this isn't part of your general financial strategy. You're not just out there saying, hey, clients, please come pay me $10 down for this session and then take another month and a half to pay it off. You're not, but you are making a good faith effort to try to work with this person and help them to work through any financial hardship or trouble and still get you paid in the process. And if they don't respond to that, or if if that's just a no-go for whatever reason, you need to remind them that what you were providing them with and what you have provided them with is not without value, and that you understand financial difficulty and financial hardship very, very well yourself. Again, I use some of the examples I just gave you. And that the problem is that now not only are you, the client, having a financial problem, now the business owner is having a financial problem. So, something that I might say to one of my clients would be something along the lines of, okay, so I understand where you're coming from. Look, I get the financial hardship aspect of things. It really is a bear sometimes to have to pay off all of the student loans we have to pay off in this country, and the medical bills that we have, and oh my gosh, I understand completely. And I want to let you know that I would like for us to continue on a path to financial success, and that by not paying me, not only are you having financial problems, but you're creating, or rather, don't ever say you're creating, but you might say something like, but financial problems are now being created for me as well. So I'm sure you can understand why I do need to ask that you do pay your bill in full. So just, reasoning with the person and being respectful and making a good show of being willing to step over to their side of the line and say, okay, here's what I can do for you. Let's get this thing hammered out. It's always a good idea, really. So I think these are some good solutions for the non-paying client variety. And, hey, if this happens with people on a regular basis that are coming into your business and patronizing your business, it's totally acceptable for you to require 100% prepayment from this person from now on. And if they can't do that, it is acceptable for you to fire them as a client. And That's something we'll talk about in further episodes of this show, firing people as a client, because that is totally okay. That is something that we can do, and it's something that it's actually an important part of business, to be able to know when to fire someone as a client. So thank you so much for listening in. I hope this has helped you. I know it's helped me vent a little bit, and I really just wanted to make sure that, the problem that I'm experiencing right now didn't go without benefiting somebody, right? Whether it's you listeners who are starting your own businesses or running businesses, whether it's other clients that might be coming to you or to my business. I think it's good to put that information out there so it benefits somebody. So thanks for listening in. Do check out my free ebook on Amazon Kindle. I will try to put that link in the chat box for you so that you can check it out. I think that it will help you. I think it'll change your life for the better. And you know what? Keep listening in. Join in with your comments. And feel free to email me with any simple, quick questions that you might have or stories that you might want to share for my YouTube live Q&A videos. Obviously, I don't give out full sessions of coaching and advice giving and psychotherapy for free. But if you have one specific question or you'd like to share a story, please let me know, and I will make sure that gets addressed on my next YouTube live show. So thank you for tuning in, and have a wonderful day. And hey, you know what? Value yourselves. Value your services. You are valuable, and it's okay to demand that your clients respect that. It's okay to command respect. Okay, so be well, value yourselves, and keep doing the good work that you're doing. Have a wonderful day.